this episode comes at a time when the country is grappling with an extremely difficult situation. Of course, I'm referring to the coronavirus. The figures the figures by the time this video is released will perhaps go well above 1,000. The number of deaths close to 25 now. And clearly, we are at a situation where there are two challenges. Firstly, containment, and secondly, mitigation. Containment is to restrict the numbers from growing further. So we need to seal the population in a way that they do not get exposed to the virus. That's containment, which is why the lockdown has been imposed. And the second aspect is mitigation. How do we reduce the numbers? How do we treat those people who have been infected? And how do we then flatten the curve? By now, all of us are familiar on how do we basically as the numbers are increasing, how do we come down that slope? So that would be mitigation. This episode of Two Sides to the Coin is dedicated at looking at one specific aspect, and that is what have we done right and what have we done wrong. So let's look at the two sides. So yes, we did manage to alert people, make people aware. The airport screenings had started. Domestic flights and international flights were cancelled earlier this month, and then a lockdown was imposed. So initially, of course, the cases that we reported in India were obviously cases of people who came from abroad. Now again, the contact tracing, basically tracing each and every person that they had come in contact with and quarantining those people. Initially the numbers were low, but then India was playing the catch-up game of trying to trace those people and quarantine them. However, the way things went after that, the catching up was becoming difficult, which is why today we are over 1,000 cases, and which is why today the number of deaths have reached around 25 the last I checked. Now what is important here is to talk about the fact that did the government act in time? In certain ways, yes, it did. In some ways, at least in making sure that the essential supplies were available to people, in making sure that there was enough awareness about this virus through the media, yes, it did manage to act in time. Let's talk about what has gone wrong. Well, a lot of things. To begin with, the lockdown was imposed without factoring in the issue of the daily wage earners or the migrant workers. And we have seen those pictures now from the national capital in particular, how there was an overcrowding in the Anand Vihar bus station for people to leave the city. Now this is extremely painful to watch. The fact that the government did not envisage the huge amount of population engaged with daily labor, which means that their daily income is dependent on those businesses which operate in a way which which depend on their services on a day-to-day manner. For instance, the taxi drivers, the auto rickshaws, the construction workers, the carpenters, so many other services that we use in our day-to-day lives where people are paid for their daily work. Now, if this segment of population has been left completely high and dry, and that is where we have gone horribly wrong. And we must understand that unless we take care of them, if they are left to their plight. I was watching this family where the couple was walking to their hometown, say from Delhi all the way to say an Azamgarh or some district in Uttar Pradesh, which would be more than 500 kilometers away, on foot. You can just imagine if they will even make it through that journey is something that looks extremely difficult, because they have no food, they have no money, they have no access to transport. So that is the story of the migrant laborer and the daily wage earner in India. So we have gone wrong in not factoring in their plight before imposing the lockdown. Without a protection plan for the migrant laborers, how could the government think of imposing this lockdown and shutting down all businesses? That is my question. And secondly, now that the funds are flowing, you have an Akshay Kumar donating 25 crores, you have the Tatas donating over 200 crore rupees, people are donating to the Prime Minister's fund, which he had appealed on Twitter to donate, and people have been generous to donate. Now there is this bulk of fund which is available. How will it reach that man who is traveling by foot with 2 kids and his wife? How will you get that money across. What I think is that it should not be so difficult for any government. You see the numbers, you can see the numbers right there in the Anand Vihar station. This is your migrant labor population. Why can't a message just go across to them that go back to your respective homes, we will pay for your rent and we will pay for your day-to-day food. It should not be difficult. All you have to do is assign a certain number of people who can work from remote locations, but the message must go across to these people who are gathered out there. Firstly, think about it, this kind of a gathering, of mass gathering at a time when you are talking about how dangerous that it can be for the coronavirus. So while we have taken a few steps ahead of time to restrict the spread, we are going many steps behind now because we could not factor in these issues. Please feel free to write in with your comments and to share your views with me. Thanks for watching Two Sides to the Coin.